Hi, I'm City Manager Ed Zuercher, and welcome to another edition of Doing What Matters, the show where we talk with Phoenix employees about the work they do to serve the community every day. City Manager Excellence Awards have been given out for 2014 for a variety of employees who've done great work. We're meeting some of those employees during the summer, and today we're with Riann Balch, Human Services Program Coordinator, who works on homeless issues. Riann, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, I've talked with Human Services staff before about specific things like the water donation program, but your work is really more systemic. You're really working on the bigger issues of homelessness in Phoenix. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing every day on the issue of homelessness.
Sure. Well, we have had a real opportunity in the past year to do some systems level work. So to look at how our system is handling people who become homeless and what happens to them immediately after that. Over the years, our knowledge about how to work with homeless people has changed, and the federal legislation has changed to support that. And so as a community, we are trying to morph our system to be best practice.
It's a critical community issue and one that tugs at your heartstrings when you drive down the street or anywhere. And we often think about it in terms of the homeless shelter, but it's really a bigger system and issue than that, isn't it, that you're working on? So for example, the shelter has gone through some changes here in downtown Phoenix, and you've been part of that. Tell us what's going on at Central Arizona Shelter Services and the Human Services campus.
Thanks. Well, what we used to do is have an overflow shelter, which is a really important thing to have. We always want people to have a safe, temperature appropriate place to come in every night, whether it's cold or whether it's hot. But what we weren't doing so well was providing the services around that. So we had that space, but we didn't have the services necessary to really engage those folks and get them beyond that overnight shelter. So what we've done is we've transitioned our overflow shelter from a place that is just sort of a nightly place to lay your head to a more service oriented. So we closed some buildings, we opened some other buildings, and in those buildings we're really doing very significant engagement, really talking to people and figuring out who they are, what their issues are, and what the next step is for them.
And the Excellence Award really was a recognition of the fact that you're going to the next level of services, to designing a system that works. I think you told me you found someone who'd been homeless for 22 years.
Yeah.
So clearly the system wasn't working there.
Right.
What are you trying to change? What is changing?
Right. Well, what we've learned is that instead of making somebody who's been on the streets, they might not be healthy anymore, they're not getting appropriate sleep, they're not connected to resources like healthcare, or if they have a substance abuse issue, to appropriate behavioral health services, or even their families. What we learned is you can't make them go to appointments and stay in this shelter, and then they get to stay in this shelter. And what you need to do is house them first, and we call this housing first. Because once somebody's in a house and they are stable and you can help them get appropriate sleep and figure out what their needs are, then you can really start to address those issues. So it's also not smart for the taxpayer to have to pay for that long-term assistance. It's much more affordable to take someone straight to housing and address their issues there. It's about $40,000 to keep somebody on the streets for a year, and it's about $14,000 to house somebody with a quality of life and for them to be healthy and safe and happy.
So it's more efficient, it's also more humane, but it's very hard, and that's what you're being recognized for, is just making this big transition.
Yeah.
Now let's break it down. One of the things that most people in Phoenix will encounter every day is someone on the street corner with a sign, or someone in downtown maybe asking for money. As a professional, what do you recommend to people who see that and are really troubled or puzzled by what should they do in response to that need? It's a
really good question, because I struggle with it as a human being every day. I am in these areas every day, and I want to give, but I know that's not the best thing to do. Every time you give something to somebody who's on the street, you're basically allowing them to continue living on the street, which is not healthy for them. So there's a couple things you can do. You can encourage them, number one, to go seek services. And I think it's okay to say at this point, things have changed. Try it again. Mm-hmm. There are new resources out there. And, when a person gets that message over and over, hopefully it will stick. But Another thing you can do is there are a variety of resources. There's so many great services and professionals out in the community. So you can contact us, we'll give some information, and we can funnel you to help those organizations that are doing that. And they can send out professional outreach workers who know what to do, who have transportation to bring these folks into the appropriate service, or you can help them with their needs, water, blankets, whatever it is they need to do the service.
There are outreach teams, there are crisis intervention professionals whose job it is to do that.
Yep.
And there are agencies who are seeking the resources to do their work.
Yes.
And employees can contribute to that through the Community Service Fund Drive or their own personal way of doing that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Riann Balch, thank you for what you do. Congratulations on your Excellence Awards.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for helping the city be innovative in how it deals with this very important problem.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
If you'd like to learn more about the resources that Riann's talking about, go to the website on your screen. For Doing What Matters, I'm City Manager Ed Zuercher.